Excellent. Sperry hooked us up with some good graphics and everything, so we're good there. All right, let's do this thing. You ready? Beautiful. Welcome to Hacks and Jacks. It's Sunday, July 6th, and we had some fireworks this weekend, not just on the baseball field, but also in the skies. July 4th, everybody celebrated. Scott, hope you had a great holiday weekend. How was everything?
There's one cheesy pickup line about the 4th of July that I always love, which is, on a scale of 1 to America, how free are you tonight? It's perfect. It's great. You should use that all the time, all year. It's good in all seasons. But no, it was good. It was mostly quiet. Picked up my kid from summer camp and he lived. That was good. So yeah, I mean, our family couldn't be happier.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, we had a solid 4th of July. We stayed up past bedtimes and watched fireworks, and everything was hunky dory. We were in good shape. It was good.
My 2-year-old stayed up past bedtimes, not because of fireworks, but because she is a demon from the deepest layers of heck and deep inside. And so that's what she does. She wakes up at 2 a.m. and just screams as loud as she can.
Yeah,
for as long as she can.
You guys are in the trenches with that too.
Yeah.
We've got a we've got a 2-year-old in the house that she's in the I can do it phase.
No, she can't.
Exactly. Yeah. But she wants to try. She's going to try. But that's all right.
Though.
Kids, right? All right, let's get to baseball. There's a lot of fun stuff going on as we kind of wrap up the first half. We're entering the final week of the first half of the season, and some interesting news and notes to go over. We'll start with maybe the biggest in terms of effect on baseball, maybe not fantasy, but effect on baseball in general. The Washington Nationals have fired their manager, Dave Martinez, as well as their GM, Mike Rizzo. So really the fantasy impact of this, I think we talked about when the Orioles fired Brandon Hyde, the only real change with managers comes in, the tactics. The Nationals run a lot under Dave Martinez. Do you think they're still going to be running under whoever takes over?
If they want to win games, they don't have a lot of options, right? Like it's James Wood and like the fighting James Woods, right? So it's like all the good guys they have outside James Woods can run, and James Wood also can run. So that's what you have to do. Like the only real question here is like, why now? Why not 3 years ago? Right? Like what was the point? Like what did you think was going to happen this year or last year that changes anything? Like I'm sure it's got something to do with his contract or whatever, or for Mike Rizzo or for Dave Martinez, who I think will eventually land at other jobs because they're not terrible managers. The team just doesn't have a ton of talent. It's extremely shallow. So yeah, just like why now? Why not 3 years ago or 3 years from now? It really wouldn't have made much of a difference.
Yeah, it's kind of strange with the expectation level in fantasy circles preseason was kind of like, okay, maybe they can compete. Like I know the NL East is tough, but maybe they can compete. And I don't know if ownership took that and was like, yeah, we should be competing. And they're just not.
With what pitchers? Right? Like what? How? Why?
Yeah, running Trevor Williams out there every 5th day is not a recipe for success.
It's like, again, it's Mackenzie Gore and who? Like, that's not really a joke, right? Like, how many baseball fans can name the other 4 dudes?
I mean, I think,
and even if you can, are you impressed? Right? Like, what? Why?
I mean, Mike Soroka's interesting, right? Like,
is he? Is he, Brett?
Sure. I mean, in
his
15,
name,
20, 25, I did,
Yeah, like in the last round of a draft and hold. Yeah, he was interesting. That's 50 dudes. They get 26.
Yeah, let me try to pull a couple other names so I sound really smart. that's I mean,
I gave you time and you didn't do it.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
That's all I got.
Think of Mitchell Parker?
Yeah.
Shinosuke Ogasawara? Jake Irvin? Why'd you sleep on Jake Irvin, Brett? Why'd you sleep on Jake Irvin?
Thank goodness this is a hitters podcast, right? Or else we'd be in big trouble.
Yeah, why'd you sleep on Jake Irvin? Just because none of his pitches grade above average in Stuff Plus? Is that why?
That gives me a good excuse, at least.
I'm sure
Let's talk about some guys who come back from the IL this week. There is a laundry list of names of guys getting back to health. Athletics catcher Shea Langoliers, Philadelphia first baseman Bryce Harper, Minnesota third baseman Royce Lewis, Los Angeles Angels outfielder Jorge Soler, Texas first baseman Jake Berger, Tampa Bay infielder Ha-Seong Kim, Baltimore outfielder Tyler O'Neill, Cincinnati infielder Noelvi Marte, Washington catcher Keibert Ruiz, Texas outfielder Wyatt Langford, and Arizona outfielder Corbin Carroll, all of them coming off the IL at certain points this week, returning to play. Scott, run me through maybe the biggest names there and anybody else that interests you.
Lightning round, baby. Okay, Shea Langoliers, power catcher, strikes out a lot, doesn't walk necessarily a ton. A decent, slightly better than streamer catcher in standard leagues, in points leagues. If you lose points for strikeouts, Shea Langoliers is more going to be close to the average side. Bryce Harper, he's back. He's a little earlier than some of us may have expected. We thought anywhere from 1 to 2 months. The downside is that we've heard from him that the main reason he's back is because his injury wasn't actually getting better than it is right now. It's not totally healed. It just wasn't getting better. Probably wasn't going to get better until he gets like a full off season off. So he's just like, screw it, we're in. Royce Lewis, I don't really care in mixed leagues because he's been super injured. He hasn't been very good. He's a streamer. If you need a third base, just see what happens, right? We've seen him be very, very good. It's been a bit longer than you think it has since that time. Jorge Soler, power streamer, walks a little bit. Don't really care. Jake Berger, guess what? He's a power streamer. He doesn't walk a bit, but I don't really care that much. Again, just a power streamer at first and third. Ha-Seong Kim, he was hitting like 83 miles an hour average exit velocity in AAA. That's bad, right? And that's not going to get better when he comes to the majors, right? Like, he just doesn't hit the ball very hard. And I think that 1 year where he hit like 15 home runs and stole 40 bases, that's long behind us, folks. He's going to be a part-time infielder. There's a lot of guys competing for those spots in Tampa. He's a streamer for speed. That's about it. Tyler O'Neill, you know the deal, right? He's going to get hurt. Like, that's what's going to happen. He's going to hit for power. He's going to get hurt. And when he's not hitting for power and when he's not hurt, there's going to be big, long chunks where he's really, really bad. So you're kind of just like sort of riding the wave, see if you can catch him at the right time. He's not a must hold. Noelvi Marte, he was so bad last year. Just, abysmal. He showed a couple flashes this year. Again, he's third base eligible, so that makes him a little bit interesting. He can run a little bit. That's a little interesting. He could be a 20-20 guy, like 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases if he fully realizes his potential. But I'm not sure that's actually going to happen. So again, like I liken him to Royce Lewis. You can take a flyer on it if you want, but there's really don't get too excited here. Keibert Ruiz, that's a points league catcher. He can slap the ball around. He doesn't walk much, but he puts the ball in play a lot. So he's not great for OBP, but he is good for points. Wyatt Langford, he's going to be a stud one day. We don't know when that day is, but he probably should be a stud. He was a top prospect for a reason, just as widely lauded as, say, Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll, we've now seen he had some rough patches. Don't forget, Corbin Carroll had rough patches. So every time you look at Wyatt Langford, they'll go, oh, what happened? Corbin Carroll had whole years off. And yeah, sure, you could say, oh, it was just the injury. It was just that. It's always something, right? It doesn't really matter what it is. It takes time for these guys to really find their potential. So Wyatt Langford, a guy who, if someone thinks they're selling high and you can get him for less than market value, by market value, I mean, go and look at my hitter list. I'm going to have a new one this Wednesday night, maybe Thursday morning, but he's a top 30 hitter, at least top 50. So if you can get someone who's in that 40 to 60 range, you can trade them for Wyatt Langford. I would go and do it, especially if you're someone who maybe rosters Byron Buxton, who is almost certainly going to be hurt. He has really, since I think it's like 2017, hasn't played in 65% of his team's games this entire time. Like every single year, he misses at least 35% of his team's games. He's sort of quickly approaching that 65% mark. Byron Buxton, a guy who you could sort of just add to your roster. I'm not saying you should trade Byron Buxton. Everyone knows he gets hurt. He gets hurt too much. But if you wanted to go and add someone to help support your team when and if Byron Buxton goes down, go and get a Wyatt Langford, who people might be trying to let go of because they spent quite a bit of draft capital and they might want something in return. Wyatt Langford is, I think, going to turn it around this season. We just don't know when. So he's someone to pay attention to. Obviously, Corbin Carroll, he's going to be a top 5 to 7 player. Really, the top 2 tiers in baseball are just super loaded. So it's hard to just say, oh, he's a top 5 player because there's so many guys. There's about 10 guys that you can say are capable of being top 5 players, because there's Ohtani, then there's Judge, and then there's a bunch of dudes who qualify in that range. So he's someone to pay attention to. But yeah, just to kind of quickly go back, Langoliers and Ruiz, they're streamers. Ruiz in points, Langoliers and everything else. Harper's fine, but he might not have the power he hoped for because of the hand. Royce Lewis, he's injured a lot. He's just a streamer. Jorge Soler, he's a power streamer who walks a bit, who's been disappointing. Jake Berger, he's a power bat who's been disappointing, but doesn't walk a lot. Ha-Seong Kim can't hit the ball hard to save his life. He didn't do it in AAA. He's not going to do it now, but he might run. Tyler O'Neill, he's always hurt. Noel V. Marte had terrible last year, but he can run and hit for a little bit of power. And Wyatt Langford and Corbin Carroll, they're young, they're great. Corbin Carroll's already great. Wyatt Langford is likely going to be great at some point. Someone to be excited about.
Woo! Take a breath. That was awesome.
Don't tell me what to do.
Lightning round IL from Scott Chu. That was beautiful. Let's talk about some guys who, instead of the guys coming back, let's talk to the guys who are on the IL this week. Arizona infielder Pavin Smith goes down with an injury. Toronto infielder Andres Jimenez. Los Angeles Dodgers infielder Max Muncy. Detroit outfielder Kerry Carpenter. Houston shortstop Jeremy Pena. And don't get me started on this one. Houston designated hitter Yordan Alvarez has yet another setback in his comeback.
What are they doing in Houston? I'm worried about Jeremy Pena for no reason, because they did it with Kyle Tucker last year. They're doing it with Yordan Alvarez now. It's almost like they find a guy starting to get healthy, so they look for an open wound and just rub salt in it. And they're like, yeah, we heard this is good. We heard this helps. No, it just hurts and makes wounds infected. Like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? So, Pavin Smith, he is a lefty who can hit righties, who was really, really hot to start the year and who you should otherwise mostly ignore as a streamer. Andres Jimenez has been terrible all year. He had a chance to hit 4th for the Blue Jays. That was going to be the best opportunity he ever got. And guess what? He wasn't really relevant doing that. He's certainly not going to be relevant batting 8th. Max Muncy was setting the world on fire. He was probably the best hitter in baseball for about 2 weeks. You should hold him on your IL if at all possible. You'd have to have a very, very stacked IL to not be able to do that. Jeremy Pena, again, I'm worried because it's Houston, but you got to hold him. He's been having a really good year. Same for Yordan Alvarez. It's a setback, but he should be back at some point, right? And when he is, he should be a top 10 hitter in baseball. And then Kerry Carpenter, he's the tough one. So in 3 outfield leagues, I'm okay with dropping him. He was really struggling, and outfield's really deep, and your IL might be full, right? You should always save someone who's on the IL if you've got no pressure on that spot. It's just a free roster spot. Go ahead and add him. But you can always drop him once he's healthy, right? You're not actually under any obligation. Kerry Carpenter, I do think that power is going to come back. I think, in a full season, he'd be a 30 home run guy. That's not going to be this year, but this offense scores runs, right? And he gets to hit in the middle of it, either at the top or in the middle. So he's someone to pay attention to. Kerry Carpenter, a guy that you probably can't hold in 3 outfield leagues and 5 outfield leagues, 15 team leagues. I think you got to do it.
So just to recap the rundown, Pavin Smith and Andres Jimenez, you can let go. Max Muncy, Jeremy Pena, you're definitely holding. Yordan Alvarez, you're probably still holding.
You have to. You gotta hold Alvarez, and then Carpenter's the one who's kind of in the middle if you don't have the free spot. But I don't even care if you have the free spot on Pavin Smith and Andres Jimenez. Just let them go. Right? There's probably a guy on the wire who's injured who's got more upside than those guys.
Beautiful. We'll take a quick break and get back with more news and notes on Hacks and Jacks after this. Great job on those lightning rounds. That was impressive.
We're on pace for like a 35-minute show here, Brett. We're doing it.
Don't worry. We'll elaborate on some of these, I'm sure.
Oh, I'll ruin it. I'll ruin it, but I haven't done it yet.
I can't wait to talk for 25 minutes about Masataka Yoshida.
You found my weakness. Not true. I actually don't have a lot to say about him because
I was going to say they're on there for the sake of having them on there. Not really. I thought Candelario to the Yankees was a little bit interesting just because they
don't trade for a better third baseman.
Right. Exactly. Just because there's kind of a path of playing time there, but Tellez to the Rangers is kind of just a throw in.
Look at him still in the league. Good for him.
Dude, Rowdy Tellez is collecting paycheck after paycheck of just like veteran minimum, and he's just doing it, man.
He just wants all the autographs of every MLB payroll staff. Like that's what he does. He just jumps around from team to team. He was a Pirate. He was a Mariner. Like for what purpose?
He's ring chasing, man.
What ring?
He's like, yeah, I want to go and play with Brian Reynolds. That's what I want.
Yeah. I'm ring chasing, and that all of these stadiums have one of those 25-cent canister things where you can twist it and you get a super secret ring that comes out.
Onion ring chasing.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Hacks and Jacks. Brett Ford here with Scott Chu talking hitters on Pitcher List. We're still going through our news and notes. Let's talk about really the only name that got called up to the majors as far as hitters go that might be somewhat relevant this week. Toronto brought back outfielder Joey Loperfido, guy they acquired from Houston last year. Had some buzz surrounding his name. Didn't really do a ton in his rookie season. Scott, is there any interest here, maybe in deeper leagues?
Not really. So his buzz was all about opportunity when he was an Astro. He made it to Toronto and his opportunity got a little bit more cloudy, and now it's even more cloudy. I'm not sure how he's going to get any playing time. So there is power here, but it doesn't really matter. So here's the thing. There's lots of guys that if we want to just say, oh yeah, prospect, his top outcome, he could hit 30 home runs. But these dudes with contact issues, these dudes with platoon issues, they just don't get to do that. So his best possible outcome is like a Kerry Carpenter type, and I don't see that happening.
Well, let's talk about some other transactions in the majors this week. So the Braves brought back Jurickson Profar from his suspension, and in somewhat surprising fashion, they DFA'd Alex Verdugo, releasing him to become a free agent. And this isn't so much surprising from a performance standpoint as it is from a depth standpoint. Atlanta's still kind of shallow in the outfield. Is this an indictment of Verdugo, or do you think he lands somewhere as fantasy relevant again, or you think the best days are behind him?
Is that why this is in all caps? I don't think Alex Verdugo talks about himself in all caps. So he's just a guy. I think that's kind of what Atlanta realized. He's major league worthy, but they're looking for, I think, someone to like. It's really hard to talk yourself into Alex Verdugo when you're starting Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris, and then either Jurickson Profar, or like, can you really talk yourself into like him over Stuart Fairchild? Right. Also, the fact that he's left-handed hurt just a little bit because Olson's left-handed, Jurickson Profar's a switch hitter, Drake Baldwin's left-handed, Ozzie Albies is a switch hitter, Michael Harris is a left-handed. They didn't really need the left-handed bat. They probably realized no one was going to trade anything of any value for Verdugo. So out he goes. The name to be interested in, I guess, is Jurickson Profar. They've inserted him into the fourth spot in this lineup basically immediately. He did hit 2 home runs right when he came back. That was cool. He led off today against a lefty, which was kind of interesting, but I think that was really just to give Ronald Acuna Jr. the day off. Profar, again, he is very streamable in the outfield, right? But again, this guy Jurickson Profar has a very, very long major league career. And about 2 of those seasons are interesting from a fantasy perspective. They're 2018 and 2024, right? All the other seasons in his entire career are wholly uninteresting. 2020 was because it was a 56 game sample and he did decent, but that's really about it. There's just not a super interesting player here. So he's a streamer and we'll see what happens. Like again, how much do you want to bet on a guy who had a career year at 31 doing it again?
Yeah. Speaking of, speaking of guys who potentially could underperform, we have another underperforming. This one's a corner infielder. The Texas Rangers have sent Josh Young to AAA, and Josh Smith is their starting third baseman on an everyday basis. Now, this is something that certainly I didn't see coming before this season, and I'm not even sure if anybody in the Rangers organization saw this coming. But Young is down to AAA now. This is kind of the second established veteran they've sent to AAA after doing the same with Berger and trying to turn his career around earlier this season. What does this move tell you about Josh Young?
Well, what was interesting about it is if you had told me that he was getting sent down, I'd say, oh, he must be striking out a bunch, but he wasn't, right? His strikeout rate was just fine. But the problem was that he only had 8 home runs in 75 games. That puts him on pace for well short of 20. Power's supposed to be his game. It just wasn't there. Right. And, it wasn't even like a single thing causing it, right? He was hitting a fair number of line drives. It's not like he had a huge ground ball rate. He doesn't pull the ball super great, but he never did. Even though he's shown power in the past, it just wasn't that good. Like, it's weird to say, but really Josh Young just has not been able to be the guy they hoped. They got a glimpse of it, 122 games in 2023 when he hit 23 home runs. And since then, it's really just not been there. So he's down. He might stay down for a while. I'm not super interested in Josh Smith outside. Again, as a streamer, he's leading off. That is mildly interesting. He's third base, shortstop, outfield eligible. That's mildly interesting, right? He's also eligible at first, I believe, for no real particular reason. He'll score some runs. We saw this last year, right? Like last year, there was a lot of buzz about Josh Smith, but if I told you that he only had 13 home runs, 11 stolen bases, didn't hit 260, didn't get on base, 34% of the time, he was super average last year. And that was as good as it gets, right? So his power and stolen base numbers are higher this season, right? Right now he's on pace for like a 15 season if he plays all the way through, maybe a little less. But that's all he is. That's just kind of what Josh Smith is. So, don't get overly excited. It's a streamer who can fill in for a lot of spots.
We'll move on to the Boston Red Sox organization. Masataka Yoshida is currently on a rehab assignment. He was seen taking ground balls at first base. Do you think there's a path for playing time for Yoshida at first base within the Red Sox organization, or is he just kind of another replacement level guy that's going to rotate with Abraham Toro, Romy Gonzalez, whoever else they throw out there?
Yeah, it's that, right? So even if he comes up, even if he plays first base every day, I'm not super interested in Yoshida. Yoshida is just an older, slightly worse version of Jung-Hoo Lee, right? And you're already trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do with Jung-Hoo Lee, who has really slowed down since the beginning of the season, puts the ball in play. In points leagues, Yoshida is a sneaky little play, especially if he gets like everyday at bats. But outside of that, there's not a lot of power here. There's not a lot of speed. There's not going to be a ton of counting stats on what the 3, 4, 5 is for this team? Abraham Toro, Carlos Novaez, Wilyer Abreu, right? That's the 3, 4, 5 for the Boston Red Sox right now. It's not the team they hoped, right? It's not the team they hoped they'd have. They got a lot of young pieces who could do something. They're technically over 500. But they're 2.8% to win this division. Fangraph says they're 25% to make the playoffs, but I think they're out of their mind. I think this team is more like 10% to make the playoffs because again, they need Garrett Crochet to not have his arm fall off, and then they need Lucas Giolito to stay really good. They need Braden Bello to stay really good. They need Richard Fitz to do stuff that he's never really shown he can do for more than a couple starts at a time. There's just a lot going on with this team. I think they're better built for 2026 and beyond. So, I'm not super interested in Yoshida.
We'll move on to another, probably a name for a deep league. Just a couple of minor league transactions, maybe to keep an eye on. Jeimer Candelario signed with the Yankees on a minor league contract, and then Rowdy Tellez signed with the Rangers on a minor league contract. Either one have any sort of path to playing time or any kind of fantasy relevance?
No. I mean, I can say more than that, but no. Candelario couldn't get playing time for the Reds, right? How's he going to break this Yankees lineup, right? They're having a hard time to find places for guys who are potentially good, like Ben Rice. How do they have any room for a guy who they pretty sure isn't in Jeimer Candelario? He's not currently on the 40-man roster. I'm not sure he's going to be, right? He's like a worse version of Brian De La Cruz, who they already have. Right? Like there's just not much here. And then with Rowdy Tellez, he hits home runs every once in a while. He's at best a platoon first baseman on a team that didn't need that either.
We'll take a break and we'll get back. When we get back, we'll get into Scott's top 150 hitters list. We'll talk about the risers and fallers from this week after the break. What time are we at? 24:46. Break 2, 24:46.
Lion.
Huh? Sorry?
I said we're flying. I better
Flying,
find some
yeah.
stuff. I better find some stuff to talk about with these guys. It's all right. I got Torque in my back pocket. We're gonna be fine.
There you go. Yeah, that can be something that, I mean, we either throw at the end of the risers, or something we throw. I can say taxi squad or anybody that we didn't touch on that you want to talk about, which is fine.
Yeah, I'll talk about them all those times. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
How are we going to sneak Riley Green into this discussion?
I mean, Riley Green doesn't need to sneak anywhere. He's a top 10 hitter in baseball right now.
He's so good. It's not fair.
He's so good. I'm still salty over this dude and the friggin' AMAs being like, do you even watch Riley Green? He looks like he's just a streamer. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you cut him because you're an idiot. Riley Green is a dog. Hitter number 13 right now on the season. The last time he had a negative week was in April, mid-April.
What's his fantasy graphs player rater number? It's got to be top 20, right?
Hitter number 13, overall 19. Yeah.
Good at baseball.
Yeah. His last negative week was April 14th through the 20th.
Yeah. He's a fan favorite in my one home league. We draft in Dansville, New York. I don't know what his ties are to that area, but he's got ties to Dansville, New York somehow. And I can't put my finger on it, but everybody in the league is like, I love Riley Green because he's kind of a local dude or something. I don't know what it is, but they love him. So
yeah, no, he went to school in Florida.
And there's some sort of connection. And it could be something as simple as he signed my friend's kid's ball or something. I don't know. Maybe he was touring with one of the minor league teams that came through the area or something. I don't know. But there's a connection there, and he
was originally drafted by the New York Yankees.
I wish I could come up with it. I'll have to text my league.
Wait, no, he wasn't. Sorry. All those numbers I just said, that was Josh Smith. Riley Green's been even better than that. I went, no, everything was right except for that part.
Gotcha.
He was drafted by the Tigers. He went to Haggerty High School. That's in Florida.
Why is he? All right. Now I got
because he's great. That or they like Trevor. But that's one of our guys. I don't know why they'd give a shit about Trevor. I mean, I love Trevor, but I don't know why they would. Trevor Huth is a huge Riley Green guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't come up with it. I think it was one of those things where he maybe played with an independently. I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, not a big deal.
Maybe a wood bat league or something, but
yeah, it might have been a high school.
But no, he was drafted right out of high school.
It might have been a high school level, all-star game type touring.
Could be.
I don't know.
That would make some sense. He's a dog though. And he's got that big sweet uppercut swing. Oh,
Riley. Now we know the things that Scott dreams of.
Riley, baby, hit his 22nd home run today.
That's wild. He's got 22 already. He's going to hit 40. Jeez.
He's probably, it's more like 30 probably because this pace is crazy, but it's not out of the question, is it?
Yeah. He is everything that Colton Cowser was supposed to be.
Yeah, except he was always better than that.
Yeah, that's
Riley Green was, he at one point he was the top prospect in baseball for a very short time. It's before Corbin Carroll.
Oh, all right. Welcome back to what are we? We're Hacks and Jacks. I almost said welcome back to Hitters List. Okay. Welcome back to Hacks and Jacks. It's Sunday, July 6th. We're back, and we're going to talk about Scott's top 150 hitters list. Scott Chu updates this hitters list every week, updates midweek, and we always talk about it on Sunday nights. Scott, talk me through some of these risers. We'll start with some Rangers bats. Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien, and Corey Seager, all of them have risen significantly in the ranks. Seager up 17 spots to 37th overall. Semien up 24 spots to 83rd overall. And Adolis Garcia with a massive leap of 43 spots to into the top 100. What are the Rangers doing that they haven't been doing all season that is causing them to rise up the rankings all of a sudden?
Great question. So with Garcia, he's an interesting one because they sent him down to the minors for a very short time, or not to the minors, but they send him on the bench for a short time to be like, hey, we don't think you're doing this right. We need you to clean it up, get better. And guys respond really strangely to that. But Adolis Garcia really responded well. He looks a lot like the guy we hoped we'd get in the offseason. Now, look, he's not back to his prime, right? That guy who could hit like 35 home runs, steal 15, 20 bases. He's not that. He's not going to ever be that. But is he a guy who could be on pace for 30 home runs for the rest of the season? Absolutely, right? He's a guy who is definitely a nice power bat who may have been cut in your league. I rank him number 100. So that's in a 3 outfield, 12-team league. He's kind of like sort of close to the replacement level, but he's just a little bit better than that. I think he's worth grabbing. Marcus Semien, that's an interesting one. So he's been having really good decision-making all season long, right? The problem was that he had absolutely no power. It had gone away. It was gone starting like about halfway through last year. Marcus Semien put together one of the worst 100 game, like 300, 400 plate appearance stretches of any regular in baseball. We talked about him in this show as a guy that you could drop. And honestly, at the time, he was, right? He was just not doing anything that we needed him to do. What has changed, and it's changed incredibly dramatically, incredibly quickly. If you follow me on Twitter at If the Chu Fits or on Blue Sky, scottchu.pitcherlist.com, you'll see I just posted the process plus chart. Well, it's actually the contactability plus chart of Marcus Semien, where it's in the basement and then out of nowhere just skyrockets. He goes from 10th percentile contactability to 90th percentile contactability in the course of like 2 weeks. Almost like a light switch. It's insane. So, while he's doing that, Marcus Semien being a second baseman, someone you should be very interested in. I don't necessarily expect this to last all season, right? I think that we could see another very devastating slump from Marcus Semien. He wasn't usually this type of hitter in the past. It's strange for him to be like this now, but the decision-making hopefully makes the floor a little higher than what we saw for I cannot underestimate. It was like 100 games that he was terrible. So we can't just let that go in our minds either. Just like we can't let go that a guy was really good for 100 games. We can't let go that a guy was bad for 100 games. So you guys hold it in the back of your mind. But however, at second base, you can hold your nose and just dive in and see what happens. Corey Seager was hurt and was slumping badly. Slumping badly is just something Corey Seager does. It's funny when you look at the stat lines year to year, you think, well, this guy's just a stud, just always consistent. And year by year, he is consistent, but month to month, he is not. He has 1 or 2 bad months every season. They're just terrible. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know if they're adjustment periods. I don't know if there's a part of the season where he just decides, I wonder what would happen if I just didn't hold the bat that hard. I don't know how it works in his mind, but he ends up just having a really bad month, but he ends up coming back. 37 is where he's at now. So he's back in the top 50. I expect him to stay there. Now, really the only issue is going to be injury, right? Corey Seager is a guy who gets injured a lot. Something to be mindful of. He's hard to trade because of that. So right now, to me, if you have Corey Seager, you just plug him in, you let it ride and see how long it can take you. But he's someone that when healthy, he's got that slump behind him. He should be quite good going forward. So he's really the one, obviously, that's way above these other two. Garcia, just above streamer level, has the upside to be another layer above that. And then Marcus Semien, hey, let's see how long this contact surge goes, right? Again, it's not the way he usually is. It's not something I necessarily expect to last all year, but hey, you're desperate at second base, probably because most of the league is. Marcus Semien is showing some power right now, not a ton of it, right? He isn't going to have that much. I think most of that power is gone. I think the power and speed numbers are going to disappoint you a little, but he's going to keep making contact, keep giving you ratios, keep giving you counting stats as long as Garcia and Seager keep hitting. Though the rest of this lineup is kind of thin and I don't really trust it. I think there's certainly value here out of these 3 Rangers bats.
Yeah, and all 3 of these guys are kind of stacked in that top half of the lineup, right behind Josh Smith, who we talked about earlier. So, having all these guys succeed at the same time has got to be good. Got to mean good things for the Rangers.
I mean, as good as they can be for the Rangers, I guess. They're not as bad in the standings as I thought they'd be. If you'd asked me how many games above or below 500, I would have been worse than they are now. 10.5 out of the AL West lead, but they're still in the hunt sort of for a wild card spot because the NL Central has been, or the AL Central has been bad. They're they're not terrible. This is kind of what they need. What they really need is for Jake DeGrom and Nathan Eovaldi to stay healthy so that they have a chance to be dangerous in the playoffs.
We'll move to that AL Central that we talked about. Minnesota Twins outfielder Byron Buxton moves up to tier 7. He moves up 20 spots this week to 45th overall, inside your top 50. I know we touched on Buxton earlier in the podcast, but he's staying healthy, he's staying on the field, and he's producing.
As I said earlier, Byron Buxton has only once in his entire career, which has been longer than you might think because of all those injuries, he's only once played more than 65% of his team's games. Just one time. He's hoping to do it for a second time. So, Byron Buxton, I talk a lot in the article, and I think you should check it out. But basically, I want to talk about his strategy. Selling high on Buxton's really hard to do because everybody that plays fantasy baseball knows Byron Buxton's reputation, which is he's going to get hurt. So you're going to pay pennies on the dollar. My view on Byron Buxton is don't trade him for pennies on the dollar. Just see if it lasts longer, right? Especially in Roto. Hold him on the off chance that he does stay healthy all year. It's possible, right? It's not like there's someone, the dagger of Damocles is not just dangling over his head, waiting for him to hit 64% and then just drop and kill him, right? Like that's not what's happening here. What's happening is he plays really, really hard in the outfield and he hurts himself. So with Buxton, I think what you should do is be trading for outfielders who are more durable, who will be around if and when Buxton goes down. Get your outfield deep now. Don't wait, because once Buxton goes down, it might be after the trade deadline and you're just going to kind of be at the mercy of whatever's on the wire. No, start looking now. You don't have to make the move now, but start looking now. See what's available in the outfield, right? Dylan Cruz might be available for someone who's a little desperate. I talked about Wyatt Langford, who's just off the IL. Maybe someone thinks they're selling high. Go get some outfielders who maybe are slumping a little bit right now, knowing that, hey, they can just park on my bench until if and when Buxton's no longer available. In fact, Yordan Alvarez is a guy that I would recommend taking. He's a guy who I think you can kind of, scoop up and say, yeah, they're mismanaging him terribly, but all they need is for him to be back around the time Buxton goes down. And I don't even know if he will. So that's another guy to really keep an eye on, because you're going to have a hard time replacing that kind of power. You can replace the speed, you can replace the other stuff, but the power is going to be hard to replace off the wire. So start looking for that now. At outfield's one way to do it, but you can do it at any position. Just keep an eye out for it.
Speaking of guys that are almost pure power, we move on to a third baseman who's moved up 22 spots this week. That's Arizona third baseman Eugenio Suarez. He's up to 51st overall, up into tier 7. And he's a guy who always seems to turn it on in the second half, Scott. Is that something you think we'll see here again?
I don't necessarily believe in like first half, second half kind of things, because when you look over the course of time, players rarely do this with any kind of consistency, right? Like it's a recency bias kind of thing. Eugenio Suarez, though, like he's hitter number 8 right now per the Fangraphs player rater. He's at 28 home runs. He has 28 home runs here, 87 games into the season. You don't hear about it quite as much because he's not leading the AL or in either league in home runs. He's no Cal Raleigh, but 28 home runs by this point. He's almost a lock for 40, something he hasn't done since the rabbit ball year of 2019. He hit 49. He's never hit 34 in any other, more than 34 in any other season. So it's a little bit interesting. Eugenio, I think, is a guy who you just got to lock in. Look, could there be long slumps? Yes. His profile has always been like that, right? He doesn't walk as much as he used to. He still strikes out a fair amount. Hits just a ton of fly balls. He's very prone to streaks, but as of right now, right, he looks like he did back in his prime, and you just gotta kind of keep going with it. Really, ever since the second half of last season, truly, it's just bizarre that this guy, he looked like he was about out of the league at one point last season, and then you just kind of go from like July to the end of the year. He's been just unstoppable, right? Like I know it sounds like I'm just being like, oh, he's been really good. His last here, let me adjust my game logs here just to get to the right number of games. I want to give you his last 160 games or so. So let's go to like I think the last calendar year, July 6th, right? So July 6th is, exactly a year from today. That'll give us, let's see how many games this is. 161 games, 667 plate appearances. He has 52 home runs. 52 in his last 161 games. Like, that buildup was worth it, folks. 52 home runs, 113 runs scored, 140 RBI. And you know what? He stole a base, because why not? Why the heck not? Right? He's hitting 281 in that stretch. I was underestimating him. I was like, oh, I'm sure it's just like he gets hot. And I'm like, it's just another little hot streak. But here we are, 52 home runs later over the course of a calendar year.
And I think that 280 mark for his batting average is more impressive for Suarez than the 52 home runs over that stretch. Like, I never imagined Eugenio Suarez to have a 280 batting average over the course of a season. Like, he's just not a guy that I profile that way, and maybe that's a mental block for me. But to hear that he is hitting 280 over the course of an entire season, even though it's a calendar year, is amazing.
That's the most boring thing you've ever said. This man has 52 home runs and 140 RBI. Brett, 281 average. Get out of here. Yeah, sure, it's great. Woohoo, batting average. 52 home runs, 140 RBI. Get out of here. And 32 doubles.
Can you tell I'm a roto guy? Like, is that?
Yes, God. Have some fun. 281 average. No, I mean, okay. So it is very impressive for Eugenio Suarez to do that, right? But the most impressive thing over the last calendar year is 52 home runs.
What's his Z contact rate? I can't wait to see his zone contact rate.
And my points, I think he's doing great. I don't care. He has 52 home runs.
Just let me nerd out on some other stuff too. Like, all right, we move on to Toronto outfielder George Springer. Springer had a massive game against the Yankees on Canada Day. He's up to tier 10, 26 spots up in the rankings this week to number 73 overall. The season kind of looks like a renaissance for Springer, who's kind of bust out of his shell and is leading the Toronto Blue Jays, the AL East leading Toronto Blue Jays. And he's kind of anchoring that offense.
Yeah. So it's funny because he was not a guy that was like we say he's having a renaissance season, but like, let's be clear. Like, at the end of May, his season was fine, right? He had 54 games. He had 8 home runs. He was hitting 257. He had 23 RBI. It was like, okay, he'll have a fine season. Then he went nuts in June, right? Especially the last 2 weeks, really, is when he's really gone overboard. So, he had that massive game against the Yankees. Really, if you just look at his coming into today, so coming into Sunday, he had, just through the month of July, he had 5 home runs in 5 games, right? He has multiple hits in all 5 of those games. Obviously, this is not the kind of thing that he's going to do long term, but George Springer, here's the thing. These hot streaks from Springer are so good that when the cold streaks come back, that's what you have to remember. It's like, look, when this guy's good, he can still be among the best hitters in baseball. That's the takeaway here. It's that, look, yeah, he's probably going to run cold again, but when he heats back up, he's a game changer. It's not just some like regular streamer who's pretty good when he's hot. This isn't Wilyer Abreu we're talking about, who can get kind of hot for short times and, might be something good. George Springer's not only super hot right now, he's done this before. This is not super outside his skill set. So that's what makes him very interesting. He's a guy that it's easy to say now because he's hitting a ton of home runs, but just hold him all the way through. I know the past seasons have not been super special in terms of overall stats, but for fantasy purposes, other than that sort of random 220 last season, which largely comes from a depressed BABIP, he's good all the time. And it's just sometimes hard to remember it because he's been hurt a lot and he's old.
Oh, we move on to from a veteran to a rookie. We talked about this guy a lot in the early season just because there was a lot to talk about with his game. It's Houston third baseman / corner outfielder Cam Smith. He's up 25 spots this week. He's creeping towards that top 100, Scott. He's in tier 14, 117 overall. Talk to me about what Cam Smith is doing that has him climbing your rankings.
Yeah, so it's hits in bunches, but here's the thing. So the way he's doing it right now is not necessarily the way I envisioned Cam Smith being good. And when I say that, I mean, when you see these young guys come up, you think, okay, what does it look like when this player's good? What does it look like when this player is going to be a game changer in Major League Baseball? What profile is that going to be, right? So if Nick Kurtz is an easy example because he's been up and down, but you're like, oh, Nick Kurtz, oh, look at all the contact he's making. Yeah, the power is not there, but he's just slapping the ball everywhere. He looks pretty good. I would say, I don't know what that is because that's not Nick Kurtz, right? He's supposed to be a power guy. So with Cam Smith, that's kind of what we're seeing is we're seeing this poor decision-making. We're seeing okay power and we're seeing a bunch of contact ability. And I just don't trust that as the way that Cam Smith becomes the guy that we were hoping for him to be in the offseason, the guy we're hoping for him to be long-term. It just don't make much sense, man. Like the process plus numbers all overall are going up, but they've gone up as the decision-making has gone down. He's just making better contact. I don't buy it, right? The power's up. That's good. I buy the power part. I expect him to be more like a guy who has like average contact ability, but plus decision-making plus power. That's the way that Cam Smith is good. That's not how he's doing it right now. That doesn't mean you can't be in on what he is right now. Just expect him to change, right? This exact model that he's finding success with is likely not the way that he sustains success long-term. And so we may see some rough seas until he finds that more, what I think is a reliable path, which is plus power, plus decision-making, and then average to below average contact.
So you want to see him swing and miss more at better pitches? With
I'm really glad you did that. So contact ability, the way we have it on Pitcher List, which is available to our PL pros, and one good reason you should be a PL pro is that we have Process Plus and the stats that go into it that Kyle Blaine's put together. These are major league research, like these are club research level statistics that we offer you, right? It's that level of model. So contact ability is how much better were you than average or than expected against the pitches that you got. So generally with Cam Smith having bad decision-making and plus contact, what that's telling me is that he's expanding the zone and making contact on pitches that we wouldn't necessarily see him make contact with. That's a problem because those are not the pitches he's going to do all that damage with, right? And you sort of see that in the game logs, right? Like he's been better of late, but you're not necessarily seeing all the home runs I want to see, right? He had a pair of home runs a little while ago, but like it's a lot of like doubles and even it's like a lot of doubles and singles. And he's getting counting stats to go with it because, they were just in Colorado. Like, let's be clear. Part of this hot streak is the fact they spent 3 games in Colorado and he got 8 hits. He got 8 hits in Colorado, right? Like that's a big part of what's happening here. But yeah, so he's expanding the zone. He's making contact. So plus contact, bad decision-making. That's like the classic example would be like Luis Arias, who expands the zone a ton. Our decision-making model thinks he's terrible at making decisions. That's because he doesn't have to make good decisions. He's Luis Arias. He can hit whatever he wants because he's not trying to hit it that hard. Cam Smith is, which means we need Cam Smith making good decisions, right? Because we want him to attack the pitches that can actually be sent out of the ballpark. That'll give him more consistency there. If the contact's a little lagging, that's fine because he should only be swinging at the stuff that we expected him to hit anyway. When you're only swinging at the stuff we expect you to hit anyway, our contact ability plus is going to be like, yeah, you're pretty average because you were swinging at meatballs and we expected you to hit those, right? Him having a plus contact is telling me that he's expanding the zone in ways he doesn't need to. He's attacking pitches he doesn't need to attack. Let those go. Focus on the decision-making because the power is always going to be there, bud. You got big power. So use it on the pitches that can actually be sent out of the yard. That's what we're looking for with Cam Smith. He's not doing it at this moment. I think he will. He's done it earlier this season in some stretches, but the contact ability was so bad that it kind of didn't work out. If he's like average at making contact, but making good decisions and hitting with that plus power, that's when we see the Cam Smith breakout, which isn't right now. Like results wise, it looks like that's what it is. But like what's going on behind the scenes is not how he's going to do that long term.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. I didn't mean to like dumb down your argument or anything. I just wanted to kind of hone in on what you were actually saying, and I think that clarified it perfectly. So thank you. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about the guys who are falling down Scott's ranks in the top 150 hitters list after this.
We'll get to 60 minutes after all.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was, I followed. I just wanted to make sure that I was.
No. In fact, like I get asked that a lot. And actually I posted that chart in the Reddit AMA and someone was like, I don't really understand what you're trying to say.
Right.
Like,
right.
Okay. I'm not saying he can't be good at contact. I'd love for him to be good at all three, but I'm not a lunatic. Like that's hard to do. That's like Juan Soto does that.
It's like be Mark Vientos last year. Don't be Mark Vientos this year.
Make good decisions, hit those balls out of the park. It's okay if you miss sometimes because you're going to be swinging hard because there are pitches you can hit.
Right. All right, let's jump back into the fallers. We'll knock these guys out, and then we got to.
Then it'll be torque time.
I was going to say, then we got to make sure we get a Torkel mention. A Torkel mentionson. A Torkelson mention. It's been a long weekend, my friend. Welcome back to Hacks and Jacks. I'm Brett Ford here with Scott Chu. We're going through Scott's top 150 hitters list. We're looking at the guys who are falling down the ranks this week. We start in Houston. It's second baseman Jose Altuve, tier 10, number 72 overall, down 24 spots this week. We've talked about Altuve a little bit in previous weeks. He kind of had a couple weeks where he stagnated in the list, and now he's falling again. Scott, what's going on with Jose Altuve?
Well, the problem is that I needed to look like an idiot because really since I've done that, he's just gone around and hit like 1 million home runs and hit a bunch of doubles. I mean, I should never drop a guy in the list when they're about to play in Colorado. It's dumb. It's dumb because they're going to look good. He's had some big games. He had another pretty good game today. He's still good. He drops a bit because again, it hasn't been as consistent as we'd like, but he's still a top 75 hitter. You can't really do anything about it because there's not a better second baseman for you on the wire, nowhere near it. So it's funny. He falls 24 spots. And all I can really tell you is it's not really actionable, right? Not really in any format because second base just doesn't have the top end talent. And the guy you'd be chasing is a guy like Jose Altuve. So he falls, but not in a way that really matters to you at all. That's one way that guys like me can cop out of like dropping a guy and having them be good and sort of looking like an idiot is just be like, yeah, but you shouldn't do anything anyway. But that's what I'm doing right now. And I hope that you appreciate that, but also it's true, right? Like it absolves me sort of, but also it's true. Like there's nothing he really would have done with this, even if he sucked all week. Like there was just nothing to do, just to hope that good things happen.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is in 2029, when Jose Altuve's contract expires with the Astros, he should sign in Colorado.
I mean, everyone should like just be like, I just need a couple more hits to break a record or whatever. Yeah, go to Colorado.
And
go ahead.
To be fair, that sounds like a completely Rockies thing to do. Sign a 39-year-old second baseman and block whatever prospects coming up.
Yeah, Charlie Blackmon was there for an extra decade. And it's no big deal. Charlie Blackmon, I'm still waiting for them to be like, look, we thought about it. We thought Charlie could really help our team. Like, help you do what? But like, that was true 5 years ago. Help you do what? And they were like, oh, we still think you help. And so they did it.
Hey, butts and seats count for something.
But nobody was like, man, I'm so glad that I was able to make it today. They got Charlie Blackmon in the lineup. It's good. Like, there was a time, right? There was a time.
Look, there were still...
But like Altuve can do that because they did it with Tyro Estrada, who got just cut. You just cut. They didn't want him anymore in San Francisco. Like a team that was competing, we're like, nah, we don't think so. And they were like, yeah, we got a young guy who could play second base, but what if he didn't? Like, what if we got this injured second baseman to do it instead?
Hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah, what if we just don't do that? What if we just don't develop our young players?
Oh, that's Rocky's gonna Rocky. We move on to Atlanta, tier 11, 80th overall. It's designated hitter Marcell Ozuna. He's fallen 23 spots this week. Ozuna, a power guy, the big bear, just not doing what we need to from a fantasy perspective, Scott.
I'm really worried. Like, I'm legitimately worried. He's been bad for quite some. He's batter number 179 on the season now. This was the first drop. He's on pace to hit like less than 25 home runs. The walk rate is great, taking tons of walks, but he's not doing any damage. They still let him hit in the middle lineup. Like, this was the first time they actually sat him. They sat him against a lefty, which makes me think it's just like old man whose knees are creaky and just needed like some time on the bench. But I'm really concerned about this. I think some of you in the very shallow leagues may have already cut him, but like Marcell Ozuna has 1 home run since the start, or 2 home runs since the start of June, right? Like, he had this one stretch where he hit 4 home runs over the course of like 9 games. And then since then, all the power's gone. He's not hitting doubles. He's not doing anything. So it's a huge concern. And even the walk rate has really fallen off a bit since late June. So yeah, it's a concern. It's a real concern. I expect him to fall before he rises.
Yeah, and we've seen this kind of floor out of him before. 2023 and 2024 were awesome seasons for Ozuna, but back in 2022, he hit 226 over 500 plate appearances. Now, granted, he reached 23 home runs, but that was kind of it. He slugged, 413, which is a previous career low. He's slugging 380 right now. There's reason to believe that you're right. This could get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, and I wish I could say I had some stat that said things were turning around. I'll tell you, I don't. Like, none of my stats suggest that this is getting better anytime soon. I mean, that was true of Marcus Semien, right? Every stat I had said that this is all bad and there's nothing really going up. And then out of nowhere, he just shot up. That's what you're praying for with Ozuna, that out of nowhere, this all comes back at age 34, which again, Semien is the example. It has happened. It's happened recently. Is it a great thing to bet on? I don't think so.
You have to wonder if motivation is part of it too. The Braves are struggling, and I don't know, maybe it's hard to get out of bed and go to work in the morning. Who knows?
And like, it is worth noting that Atlanta has been surprisingly bad. I really thought this offense would get a lot better with the return of Ronald Acuna, and he's been great, and they haven't. So there could be something to that, but ultimately it's been a long, this is the worst slump we've seen out of Ozuna in several years. So it's very concerning to me. And I think if you're in a 10-team league, there might be a player out there that, again, I dropped Ozuna down in my ranks into the 80s, and there might be a player, in a league that you can go and make a move for and acquire instead of Ozuna. Most of you probably can't, but I think in the shallow leagues, that's starting to look like a possibility.
Especially when he's UT only, right? Like, as a utility only player, there's not a lot of flexibility there either.
No, there is in fact none. You would define that as none. There is none.
We move on to Sal Perez, another veteran dropping in the ranks, tier 11, 82nd overall this week, down 36 spots. One of my favorite fantasy baseball guys over the past, 5 years. I love Sal Perez, but he is not getting it done this season.
He had a home run today. That helps. That's his 10th home run on the season through 85 games. So he still plays a lot, right? 85 games. That means he's playing just about every day. He's just good enough to be a back end catcher and just kind of hold on and see what happens. He's been a little better since the start of June than he had been in months past, but it's still like the consistency's not there. The Royals offense has just not been where I think they expected it to be, as they now sit at 43 and 48. I think they expected to be better. We all expected them to be better. So, on one hand, his skill set always said like, hey, there's not a ton of shelf life to this. He swings at everything. He's still hitting the ball fairly hard, though. So that's not really the problem. I think part of it is, a little bit of bad luck. Not much of it, though. But there's a little bit of bad luck there, at least on the batting average side. I don't think he's going to repeat last year, but he should get enough RBI, enough playing time that he's a valuable catcher, but not a game changer like he has been in years past. Now, the expected stats say he's almost as good as he was last season, but it's not quite there at the moment.
We'll head over to New York, where a couple of Yankees have free falled on your list this week. Anthony Volpe in tier 14, down 59 spots to number 123, and then Paul Goldschmidt, tier 15, down 66 spots to 132. What's going on in New York?
If I still had comments on the article, which wasn't my choice, but we don't have them, and I think that was probably a good decision based on how they went across the site, even though my readers I thought were pretty good about it. They would tell me that Anthony Volpe shouldn't be ranked at all because he looks like a terrible baseball player right now, right? He hit Aaron Judge in the head just throwing a ball around, like just some bonehead stuff. But Anthony Volpe plays every day. He's got power. He's got speed. There's still a chance there for him to be something. Right. I think he still could get to 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, although in many leagues, if you've cut him, I get it. My problem with Paul Goldschmidt is that he doesn't play every day. And he's got constant competition for his spots, right? If Ben Rice gets hot again, Paul Goldschmidt's going to have a hard time getting in that order, right? Because they're not going to have Ben Rice behind the dish every day because I think they still like Austin Wells as an actual catcher, right? Ben Rice is a guy who can catch. Austin Wells is a catcher. Right? Like there's a difference, especially defensively in handling pitching staffs. So Goldschmidt really, really concerns me. I think he's a fine streamer in the right sets of matchups, but at some point, I think you have to accept that he's not a full-time player, and I'm not sure what it looks like for him to get back there without injury, right? Giancarlo Stanton messed this up as much as we thought he would. And so it's a very, very crowded, very, very crowded roster, and I think they'd much rather see what they can get out of guys like Jason Dominguez, Ben Rice, if he can take off. This team is obviously built for the playoffs. Paul Goldschmidt's going to play a role in that, but it doesn't have to be an everyday role. And I think that's what they've noticed.
Well, that does it for risers and fallers this week. Let's move to, I guess, the taxi squad or anybody that we didn't mention that you want to touch on in this week's pod.
So glad you asked, Brett. There is a guy we didn't talk about that I do want to. There's two of them I want to talk about, actually. Number one, hitting a home run today, guy who can't stop hitting home runs, a guy who can't stop doing anything good. That's Riley Green. Riley Green, I still take it personally that there was somebody out there in Reddit land who didn't think Riley Green was good. And I took it very personally. Riley Green hasn't had a negative fantasy week since week 4. That was April 14th through the 20th. He's currently batter number 13. He's got a big sweet uppercut swing, and he just hit his 22nd home run of the year. Yes, the strikeouts can be ugly, right? Over his last 15 games, he's striking out about a little over 30% of the time. He spent quite a bit of the season striking out over 30% of the time over 15 game spans. I don't care, because that sweet uppercut swing gets the ball out of the yard in a hurry. He's a monster. He's going to keep hitting in the middle of this order. He's got 69 RBI, very nice number to have through 88 games. And he's hitting 287. Riley Green is, he's continued to move up my rankings. I'd probably rank him more aggressively than anybody, save maybe Trevor Huth, who's been on the show before. I rank Riley Green 16th. That's ahead of Rafael Devers. That's ahead of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's ahead of Ketel Marte. That's ahead of Bryce Harper. That's ahead of Manny Machado. And I believe it. This is not like, I think he could very soon also he could overtake Pete Crow Armstrong and be at the top of this tier 14. That's hitter number 15. Riley Green's for real, folks, and you need to be in on it. And while we're talking about Tigers because it's my show. I can talk about whatever I want as long as Brett doesn't stop rolling, which he hasn't yet. So we're going to talk about Spencer Torkelson because you got to get torqued, you nerds. All right. So there was a reason that we kept holding on to torque. So we gave up on Tyler Soderstrom. His power just completely fell off. He's had like one extra base hit in the last month and a half. It's not good. We gave up on Kyle Manzardo. They just stopped playing him, right? A lot of these other early first base breakouts have fallen apart, but not Spencer Torkelson. Spencer Torkelson now has 20 home runs on the season. He hit a couple more this week. He has 3 in his last 6 games, if you include today. He also hit one a little while before that. And the reason we believed is because the decision-making for Spencer Torkelson has stayed strong all season. Like just elite decision-making all season long. He continues to do it. That was a big key. So remember how I talked about before with Cam Smith, where I was like, it's not about, I can't see him being a below average decision maker with good contact and then power. That wasn't going to work. What Cam Smith needs to be doing, what Spencer Torkelson is doing, which is the contact is meh, right? But the decision-making is fantastic and the power is plus. That's what gets you to 40, 35, 40 home runs. That's how you get there. Spencer Torkelson is showing them how you do that. He's got an over 10% walk rate, an under 25% strikeout rate, plenty of hard hit balls, plenty of fly balls. He gets the ball in the air all the time. Spencer Torkelson is a guy you need to keep rostering. He's going to hit, at first I was like, I hope he can get to 30. Now I'm like, why not 35? Right? I think projections are going to tell you he's going to hit about 10 or 11 more, which doesn't sound like much because you're like, oh, that's only like 2 or 3 a month for, here on out. Not that many players get projected over 30 home runs, right? Fewer than 50 players in all of baseball get projected for, I think 28 home runs or more. That's a lot of home runs, folks, right? So you say, oh, there's 50 players. Yeah. And there's 12 teams in your fantasy league. That means you each get 3 or 4 of them tops, right? Top Spencer Torkelson was not one that was on that list. Every guy that wasn't on that list, all the guys that we thought would hit 30 home runs were drafted. They were drafted early and very few of them have been cut. So whenever you get your hands on a guy who could be one of those 30 home run guys, you hold on to them for dear life until you become certain that they cannot do that, or they will only do so in a way that hurts your team overall. Spencer Torkelson's not going to do that. Yes, his batting average isn't great. It's 238. It could be anywhere from 230 to 250 by the time we're done. But that's one category, right? He's going to help you in 3 others, right? He won't steal bases, but who cares? Spencer Torkelson, he's a guy we're going to keep believing in as long as the decision-making is good. Now, when the decision-making falls off, I will be here to tell you this is bad news. This is bad. This is something that's going to be unsustainable. But he hasn't done that, right? He hasn't broken my heart that way yet. He's currently a top 50 hitter. I don't rank him quite that high. I rank him number 81 behind Marcell Ozuna, which now feels stupid. He should be ahead of that. But Spencer Torkelson, he's going to be back in the top 75. I expect him to move even back closer to the top 50. He's going to be a top 75 to 50 player all season long. And in every format I'm aware of, that is the guy you keep locked into your roster. So Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, absolute dogs, absolutely exciting guys on baseball's best team, the Detroit Tigers. If you're not excited, like if you're not having fun rooting for the Tigers, what are you doing? Like this isn't the Yankees. This isn't the Dodgers. This is the gritty Tigers coming out, scoring a bunch of runs in the 10th inning with Tarek Skubal, who just had a really fun bit, like commentating about, he was like in game, like sort of broadcasting, and he got to see a home run. You see him like dodge a foul ball. It's a lot of fun. Go to MLB.com. You can see some of the highlights of that, but the gritty Tigers are a fun team. You should be enjoying them just like I am. And even if you're not going to enjoy it as much as me, try, right? I think your life will be better for it.
All right. Well, now that we've had Tigers Hour on Hacks and Jacks, is there anybody from the taxi squad you want to touch on real quick before we sign off?
Oh, he's actually ranked, but I told the chat, the one guy in our chat, we're so glad you're here, Angelo. The one guy in the chat, I said I'd touch on Tyler Freeman. So Tyler Freeman is a contact speed guy. He's really found his roots again doing that. I do think he's a guy that can stay ranked. Sure. Did I rank Freeman? I hope I did. Yeah. No, I didn't. Whoopsie. I didn't even put him in the article. That was stupid. So Tyler Freeman's going to be ranked. So here's the thing. Tyler Freeman, his numbers are a little bit inflated right now because he's played like the better part of the last 2 weeks in Coors Field. And when you're a contact guy with speed and you get to hit the ball in the biggest outfield in baseball, you're going to get good numbers. That's going to happen. But he leads off for the Rockies. He's got a good hit tool. He's a guy that can probably hit like 280 or so. Look, the home run numbers are going to be low. He only has 1 home run and he didn't even hit it in Coors because Coors is too big, right? Tyler Freeman doesn't have that. He's got warning track power, and that warning track up in Coors is a long, long way away. So Freeman is a guy who can hit for average, hit for contact. He can score some runs, not a bunch of them because the Rockies are terrible. But he is a player, especially because of that second base eligibility, third base eligibility. He's eligible just about everywhere. He's a guy who should really be, he's probably been scooped up. If he hasn't, you should scoop him. If you have scooped him, you can probably hold him on your roster for quite a while. He's going to help you in those ratios. He can help you with that speed. Now, if you get to a point where you don't care about the ratios, you need the power, Tyler Freeman is of no use to you. Right? The power is never coming. But points leagues where you need ratios and speed, Tyler Freeman, very valuable player, a guy that you can probably keep holding if you've already scooped him. If he's out there, go ahead and grab him if you need those things.
Beautiful. Thanks for a great podcast, Scott. Tell the folks where they can find you and your work.
Yes, you can find me on Blue Sky, scottchu.pitcherlist.com. You can find me on Reddit at Chuseph, Chuseph Esquire. We've got the Reddit AMA every day on the weekend. I've got the great Nate Schwartz helping me throughout the weekend to keep up with all these questions. We had so many questions. I just could not do it myself anymore. I love it. Love all of you that are on there and asking these questions. We get, well over 100 questions every week. So a lot of fun just talking baseball there. You can also find me on Twitter at If the Chew Fits. And then, of course, the article formerly known as Hitter List, which is now the top 150 hitters for fantasy baseball in 2025. You can find that on Wednesday nights or Thursday mornings whenever I'm actually able to put it all together. I really want to get back to Wednesdays, but real life gets in the way. But that's where we're at. So you can find me in all those places. Hope you check them out and hope you give some feedback, right? I know you can't leave comments on the articles or anymore, but hit me up on social media. I'm trying to be more active when I can. Hit me up on Reddit, hit me up wherever. I'll answer your questions, or hey, better yet, join the Discord or become a PL Pro. Then you get me way more often. I'm basically on speed dial at that point. I'm answering those questions all day, every day, any hour that I can. So another reason to do that, although the real reason is to get Kyle Bland's amazing stats that he gives us, like process plus contactability and power.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Scott. I'm Brett Ford. You can find me at Fade That Man on social media. Make sure you check out my Fab Insights columns on Sunday mornings, talking about Fab bids and all the good things. And then hit me up in the Discord. I'm in the Pitcher List Discord at Fade That Man under Brett Ford, whatever display name it is. And then, of course, in playback, usually try to jump in at least once a week, whether it's, in the mornings with Nick or during one of our awesome game streams, watch parties, things like that. So make sure you hit up playback as well. Thanks for tuning in to Hacks and Jacks. For Scott, I'm Brett. We'll see y'all next week. Later. Beautiful. Excellent, sir. Thank you very much.
Woo. And look at that. It's not even 10:30.
I know. It's
might as well be daylight out here.
And there's baseball on right now, which is kind of weird for a Sunday night.
Yeah. Like they had the extra late game.
Yeah, they got
I'm
two.
I'm in a 12-team points league. We're the fourth highest scoring team in the league. In the league this week. We're the number one scoring team by far overall. And yet again, we are up against another top 4 scoring team and might lose.
Yeah. Oof.
Hooray.
Let's see. I'm in 2 nail biters right now. In my 2 points leagues.
Fucking hell, we lost.
I'm up 4.5 points in one, and the opponent has 3.5 points, and the opponent has Luis Arias in the late game. And then in my other one, I think I locked up a 7-point win with Arias in my back pocket. So, we have Devers in that one. So
what hurts the most is that the reason we lost is because the Tigers got rained out, and I took Torque. I had to take Torque and Torres out of my lineup. I forgot to put them back in after the rain out, and the 3 guys that would have been in scored a combined like 70 points. A winning score in this league is about 500. So 70 is a ton. What's really annoying is, so my team's about to be 9-5, right? So CBS does this cool thing where they do this like power ranking and these breakdowns, which say if you played everybody every week, what would your record be? Right? Play everybody every week. What would your record be overall? The Toledo Mud Hens would be 114-29. That's our team name. Nobody else has 100.
That's wild.
No, sorry. There's one other team that has 100. The guy that's leading our division has like 88. He'd be 88-55. We'd be 114-29. He's got a 2-game lead on us.
That's
because
beautiful.
Points is stupid.
What they don't do strength of schedule in fantasy, huh?
No.
In my one roto league on CBS, we get We get like AI generated lead like week summaries and stuff.
Yeah, they all do that now.
And all of mine are so bad. My team is awful. I have a combined. I think I have like 30 rotisserie points out of a possible 144 or what is it 120. Like I'm in dead last, and I've been tanking for at least a couple weeks. I just acquired Mizorowski. I acquired Yuri Perez. Like I'm folding it in this year for next year. So it's gross.
So we're the number one scoring team by a lot. We're now through 14 weeks. We're the number one scoring team by about 170 overall. And then in our division, we're the number one scoring team by 480 through 14 weeks. And that's because our